News Talk 94.5 WPTI, 96.7 FM WTOB. You're listening to the Wealth Guardian Show with Doug Ray, helping you to retire the job and keep the paycheck. I'm your host, Doug Ray, and with me is Mr. Brice Payne on the board.
Good morning, Doug. Happy weekend to you.
Well, yeah, like those weekends.
Yep, gotta have them about once a week. You gotta have them,
especially as football season starts.
That's right. And your team and my team faced off last weekend, and I know it's nothing because it's preseason, but you guys got 2 points out of the match.
Well, you know, you guys, your first team played all the rookies looking for a roster spot.
That's right.
So, but I will say, that quarterback looked pretty good.
Yeah, both of them actually did. Not too bad. Yeah, Nix and I forgot the other guy's name. But anyway, well, thank you out there for joining us. We are going to be taking listener questions from our mailbag. Every once in a while, somebody throws in a question to us about retirement planning, and we want to get to those questions when we've got enough stacked up. We've got some good ones this week. But before we get started, let's go ahead and do our Wealth Guardian service salute. Doug?
Yeah, we like to start the show out every time by saying thank you so much to all of our veterans, our service members, our first responders. Thank you for everything you do for us. We truly appreciate it.
We do appreciate it, indeed, and the family members as well. Thank you. And now, as we've been doing for 2024, we start off the show by asking ourselves and you a question. We say, better get to know your Wealth Guardians advisor. And so the question that Doug wanted to throw out there this time was, what is the favorite concert that you've ever seen? So, Doug, I'll throw it to you. What is your favorite concert you ever saw?
Yeah, it has to be Styx came to East Carolina. I think it was in 77, and it was one of Sherry and I's first dates. So,
yeah, Styx has got some great music out there. So, absolutely. Well, it was a few years ago that all in one year I got to see The Who, Fleetwood Mac, Rolling Stones, and the Eagles all in 1 year. Great. But I would say the Eagles really, I mean, they all did. All those shows were absolutely brilliant. But the Eagles actually had me crying during because their harmonies are so beautiful, and they actually had me crying during their songs. I'm not afraid to admit that. So I'd say the Eagles was probably up there as one of the very best shows that I've ever seen. And that was, of course, while we still had the two main original members there, Glenn Frey and I can't think of the other one. Anyway, let's go ahead now and get started on our listener mailbag.
By the way, folks, you can't tell Brice is an avid music fan. I mean, avid. He's been out to Vegas and the Sphere twice now.
Yeah, I've been out there twice. I try not to travel for shows too much anymore, but every once in a while I've got to go somewhere to see something. Yes, but I do like a good concert. Anyway, let's go ahead here, and we got a letter or an email from Mary in Stokesdale over the last couple of weeks, and she says, Doug, Brice, and Garrett, my portfolio dropped quite a bit earlier this year, and then recovered some, but it's still down a bit from where it was at its peak. I'm retired, okay, we need to know that, and rely totally on this money for income because I haven't started my Social Security. Okay, that's good that she tells us that. I've been wanting to wait until age 70 to start my Social Security, but now I'm wondering if I should take it now. Wow. So Mary, got to tell you, this is a question that probably hits home with about 75% of the people who come in and sit down with us and go through the planning process. As you know, you've obviously got some coaching here that you realize it probably makes sense for you to wait until 70 because most people don't really think about that until they do the numbers. So you've already got a jump start on things by understanding that. But your question is, should you take it now? So there's a lot of things that would play into that.
A whole lot. I would not let a market scare you into taking your Social Security.
Unless it knocked your portfolio down to a dangerously low amount.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
But so Mary, so there's a number of things that would go into that, and you do give us some good information here. You do tell us that you're already retired, and that you rely entirely on your income. And let's see, I'm retired and rely totally on this money for income, your distributions from your investments. So it really would depend on how large your investment portfolio is, because if let's say it is $2 million and it dropped down to 1.7. That might not be a big deal if your spending is falls within normal norms. But if your portfolio dropped from 500,000, say, down to 400,000, that might be a little bit more precarious, and where you might want to see how many more years it is until you turn 70, that you turn Social Security on, you're taking these distributions. How far might your portfolio drop with those distributions? You don't want it to get to, as I said, to a dangerously low point. So that would be one thing that we would need to consider. Life longevity would be another thing that we want to consider. I don't know if you're married or not, or if there's somebody else going to be filing a Social Security in the household as well. So there's a couple of different things there, but as Doug and I like to say, it depends.
Well, let me just add this. Mary, you didn't tell us how you're invested. You might have too much risk in your portfolio. So right now might not be a bad time to de-risk that portfolio some, because we're getting into a seasonality situation where August and September historically has been rough for the stock market. And people think it's October, but no, October usually finds a bottom. And then you have, the holidays coming up and the market reinflates then. So I would, I'd look at your portfolio and see how much risk you got.
I think there's something called an election coming up too, out there. That tends to spook the market sometimes.
And then you've got the geopolitical risk.
Whole bunch of it. All right, Mary. Well, thank you for the question. That was a good one, and hopefully that gives you an idea of what the things that you need to consider to get you an answer to that. If you are just tuning in, you're listening to the Wealth Guardian Show with Doug Ray. I'm Brice Payne in the studio this morning with Doug Ray. And this segment and in our second segment as well, we're taking listener questions, dipping into that mailbag to see what questions you guys have for holistic financial planners who specialize in retirement planning like we do here at the Wealth Guardians. So our next question comes from Matt in Winston-Salem. Matt says, guys, I just learned that I can do a Roth conversion in any amount. For some reason, I thought there was a limit on how much you can do in a year. So now I want to convert a big amount this year, but I wanted your opinion on converting large amounts at once. So, Matt, you are absolutely right. A lot of people will confuse a Roth conversion with a Roth contribution. And Roth and IRA contributions are capped, what is it now, Doug, 8,000?
Something like that.
Yeah, around 8,000, 8,500, depending on your age. But a conversion is moving money from your IRA account to a Roth account. That is a taxable event. But then once it's in the Roth account, now that is free from any tax increases because now it's a tax-free account. So you do incur that tax hit at the time that you do it, but if you believe taxes are going up, then it might make sense for you to do some IRA to Roth conversions now. And then Matt is hitting the nail on the head here. He wants our opinion on how much to convert. Doug, this is a tricky question.
This is a tricky question, but I'll tell you this, Matt, we have this beautiful software that will tell you how to convert tax efficient. Then it projects out in the future how much tax-free Roth money you'll have versus taxable IRA money. And I can tell you, I believe sincerely taxes are going to be higher in the future.
They have to be.
They have to be.
Yeah.
So doesn't it make sense to start doing a conversion program now and for the next several years while taxes will probably be lower than they are 15, 20 years down the road?
Yeah, Matt, there's a lot of math that goes into that question. How much should I convert? Should I do it all in 1 year, which the answer is probably no to that? Should I do it over the course of 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? And then how much each year? Well, there's a lot of math that goes into that. And we've got this great software that does 90% of that math for us. But I can tell you, if you do it in the right way, you can almost, in a lot of cases, cut your taxes, your federal taxes, what you will owe from now to age 100, almost in half. And so, but you got to do the math the right way. But here's one thing I'll share with you about this. You never, and maybe I shouldn't say the word never, but I haven't encountered a case where you want to convert 100% of your IRA money to Roth. And here's why. Every year when you file taxes, you get a standard deduction, right? So you can take that first, and it's usually around $30,000. So you could take $30,000 out of your IRA in a given year, and that would be tax-free income. So it's normally taxable monies, but you get that standard deduction free. So if you had converted all of your IRA money to Roth money, then you're giving up on that standard deduction. You're saying, thanks, Uncle Sam, I don't want your tax break. So you generally want to keep enough IRA money in there to last you for however long you think you're going to live so that you're getting that tax break year after year. Of course, we don't know how long we're going to live and we don't know what kind of returns you're going to have on your investments, but our software does the math for us. So it's a really good question. And we would encourage anybody out there who has not looked into doing IRA to Roth conversions to at least consider it, because there's definitely some benefits, some huge benefits actually, for doing that. Doug, anything else to add on that?
No, you hit a good point there.
Okay, very good. Well, if you, Matt, or Mary, or anybody else out there wants to sit down with a holistic financial planner and talk about not just IRA to Roth conversions and not whether or not you should be paying your mortgage down early, but how to limit your fees and how to properly align your portfolio with your risk tolerance, then please do give us a call. Our phone number is 336-391-3409. That's 336-391-3409. You can also visit us at our website, thewealthguardians.com. To sit down with us and go through the planning process. You'll sit down with either Doug, myself, or Garrett. It's usually a 4-meeting process, but there is no cost or obligation to you, and we're going to provide you a lot of good information and give you some good pictures on what your retirement might look like or could look like. But you do have to give us a call. So we'd look forward to sitting down with you and seeing how we might be able to help you in planning for your retirement. Now, we got to go to a break, but stick around, because on the other side of the break, we're going to keep doing these listener questions. But we've got a trivia question here. And as we do every week going into break, we throw it at Doug. Doug, are you ready?
Sure.
On August 22nd, 1851, the first trophy was awarded for this now annual international sporting event. It is believed to be the oldest trophy still being awarded today. It was originally called the 100 Guinea Cup. The 100 Guinea Cup. But the name has changed to honor the winner of that first contest, just like the NFL now has the Lombardi Trophy. It's held about every 3 or 4 years. What event is this? Okay, we'll stick around for the answer to that trivia question and see if we stump Doug on the other side of this short break. This is Brice Payne. With me in the studio is Doug Ray, and this show is The Wealth Guardians, helping you retire the job and keep the paycheck. And this is News Talk 94.5 WPTI. And this is 96.7 FM, WTOB. News Talk 94.5 WPTI, 96.7 FM, WTOB. Welcome back to the Wealth Guardians Show, where we help you retire the job and keep the paycheck. I'm Brice Payne in the Wealth Guardians studio this morning, along with Doug Ray. And in this segment, we're going to continue our discussion on the listener mailbag, taking questions from our listeners out there and seeing what advice we might be able to give to the general public on retirement planning. Now, before we answer the trivia question that we left you hanging with, I've got 2 questions for you. 1, are you planning to retire in the next 10 years? 2, have you met with a retirement income certified professional who is also a fiduciary? So if you haven't, I'm going to invite you to take us up on a complimentary review of your current situation. As certified retirement planning specialists, we'll put together a customized written plan with strategies for portfolio allocation, income distribution, Social Security filing, and tax efficiency, with the additional benefit of being able to hopefully reduce both the risk and the fees of your current plan. So if you put aside at least $400,000 and you want to take us up on this no-cost, no-obligation review, I need you to give us a call, 336-391-3409. That's 336-391-3409, or go to our website, thewealthguardians.com. That's thewealthguardians.com to learn more. Let us show you in black and white how to retire the job and keep the paycheck. All right, so we left you with a trivia question. We're going to see if we stumped Doug here. Doug, here it is again. On August 22nd, 1851, the first trophy was awarded for this now annual international sporting event. It is believed to be the oldest trophy still being awarded today. It was originally called the 100 Guinea Cup, but the name was changed to honor the winner of that first contest, just like the NFL has the Lombardi Trophy for your Packers. It's held about every 3 or 4 years, which is kind of an interesting schedule. It's not an exact amount. So, Doug, what is the name of this cup or this trophy?
Well, I think you might have got me this time. My original thought was the British Open, but that's every year. It's not every 3 or 4 years. So, I don't know.
Well, you served in what?
The Navy.
So that might be a clue, because I generally ask a question that is related to you somehow. The America's Cup.
Oh, the yachting event.
The yachting event. The New York Yacht Club won from 1851 all the way up to 1983. Then Australia won it in 1983. And since then, New Zealand has won it twice, and the Swiss once, and then the U.S. has won a number of more times. But yeah, it's the oldest trophy still being given out. How about that? So Thought you would catch that with the name being the cup and all that, but okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to our listener questions here. The next one we want to get to is Patrick in Kernersville. And Patrick says, Doug. Wait, it just says Doug. Okay. I'll read it even though he sent it to you here. Doug, I have 2 old 401ks that I've been meaning to roll over for a while. I also have a third 401k with my current employer. So should I roll the old ones into the current 401k or into an IRA instead? It sure would be nice to have it all under one account to make the value look bigger.
That's not really
No, I mean, I get the idea of consolidating your accounts and the convenience, but there's probably a better reason against doing that for it.
Huge better reason. I am not a fan of rolling 401ks into your current 401k because you don't have that many options. You're regulated to mutual funds typically. I would move them over, roll them over to an IRA. That way you've got a whole ton of different options to invest in. And also think about this. The funds in that 401k have hidden costs in them. And by rolling your money into an IRA, you could probably cut your fees at least in half because that's what we're doing for our new clients all the time. In fact, Garrett had a case not long ago, maybe a couple of weeks ago, where the gentleman just could not believe how much fees he had in his 401k. He said, I don't see these fees.
Right?
No, you don't see those fees.
That's why they're called hidden fees.
You know the fees that you have that's listed in your prospectus, but you've got the other fees on top of that.
The trading fees, the cash drag. And that if you've got a money manager, you've got a money manager fee on top of the advisor fee. If it's a 401k, you've got a 12B1 fee.
So, yeah, if you roll it over to an IRA and you invest it in ETFs and stocks and bonds, you're going to dramatically cut your fees.
Yeah. And, it's like you said, too, Doug, there's Patrick, in your 401k, how many investment options do you have? They're probably all going to be mutual funds. Maybe you've got some company stock option in there, but they give you an allocation of maybe 20 mutual funds, something like that. If 20 is on the high side too, but there's literally hundreds of thousands of investment options out there available to you through an IRA. So those are your 2 main reasons you wouldn't want to do that. But to be fair, there are a couple of benefits to leaving it in your 401k, though they're not very widely used benefits. One of them is that your 401k is protected from creditors. Your IRA isn't. And 2, your 401k will allow you to do loans to yourself when you can't do that from an IRA if you need to take a loan out before you're 59 and a half. So, but those are rarely used options. So I wouldn't say that there's a lot of weight that should go into those 2 things. But Patrick, thank you for the question. I hope that gave you a little bit of insight into how we would answer that if we had all the information for you.
And let me add this, Brice. I mean, you have in the 401k the age 55 distribution rule versus the IRA.
That's another good one.
Age 59 and a half distribution.
Yeah, so if you're looking to retire before, around age 55 or so, that might be another reason to keep some of it in a 401k. I mean, not necessarily all of it. Okay, but again, Patrick, thank you for the question. So now let's move on to Grace. Grace in Thomasville says, Doug, Brice, and Garrett. I like that's better. I feel guilty saying this because I know a lot of people are having a tough time right now, but my family has had a stroke of good fortune recently. We recently got a big tax refund, a surprise inheritance from my aunt that we weren't expecting, and then my husband got a big bonus through work. So what should be my priority with this money? Should it be paying off debt, investing in stocks, or possibly buying an investment property?
Well, that's a good question. Now, what you don't tell us is, how is your debt structured? Is it credit card debt? Or if it's a mortgage on a house and you got it 3% or less, there's going
to be a different answer. Yeah, different answer for each one of those.
If it's credit card debt and you're incurring outrageous rates right now, I would pay that off to get that out.
Yeah, as soon as you can.
And then you can always work on investing later on down the road.
Right.
But that is a monkey on your back right now. And that interest is just going to pile up and pile up and pile up.
Yeah, if it's the credit card debt, Grace, you do want to kind of tackle that sooner than later. But we do face a lot of people who are looking to pay off their mortgage earlier than on the regular scheduled basis. But when they've got a low interest rate, like Doug says, around 3%, just mathematically, it doesn't make sense in most cases to pay that off sooner than you need to. As far as investing in stocks, that's definitely an option. We're not particularly bullish on the market at this very moment, but who's to say what's coming around the corner? Investment property, we have a lot of clients who have a part of their portfolio in investment properties. It does pay out a steady amount of income. If you are being a landlord, there's a lot of active sweat equity that goes into doing that. And Doug, you've done it before. You're not a big fan of it yourself, but we do have a lot of people who have a significant amount of income coming from investment property. Grace, you just have to be prepared to be taking on a lot of burden. That is not a maintenance-free type of investment like stocks or bonds would be.
Yeah, if you want to do like a short-term vacation property, now that's a whole different story. But if you're talking long-term rentals, there's a lot to consider there. In my situation in the past, I had nothing but problems, and I would never get into that again. Now with our vacation property, it's been a godsend, to be honest with you. Sure, there was some glitches along the way, but it's been a very good investment for us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But Grace, thank you for the question. I appreciate that. And if you are just tuning in, you're listening to the Wealth Guardian Show with Doug Ray. I'm Brice Payne in the studio this weekend morning. We're taking listener questions, and we got time for one more here. And it's coming from Ronnie in Burlington. And Ronnie says, is it a good idea or a bad idea to have my investments, taxes, and legal documents for my estate all handled by the same firm?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
My thought about this is the way I've structured our firm is we don't do your legal documents. We refer out to a estate planning attorney. That way we have a separation. And we're looking to find that in our referral sources, if it's going to be an attorney, if it's going to be a CPA, I want to give my clients the very best I can find for them. So, I know there's a lot of firms out there that have everything under one house concept. And maybe that's good, maybe it's not.
If they do each individual thing well, then there's no problem with that.
You're right. So, it just depends. I think you got to, do your homework, talk to some people, and do your homework.
Yeah, I think if I can add this, Ronnie, as long as whoever is your CPA or estate planning attorney and whoever is your advisor, your investment advisor, financial planner, as long as they have a good lines of communication with each other and they understand what each of the others is trying to do, because they do have to kind of act in coordination and synchronization with each other. As long as those communication lines are open and there's a good professional relationship between them, it doesn't matter whether or not they're all at the same firm or not. Sometimes those firms that do all of that, it's kind of a jack of all trades. And that's why, as Doug was saying, we really try to limit what we do as financial planners. We don't try to dip into the estate planning ourselves. Even though we have a good idea when we talk to somebody who's going through the planning process with us, we can get a sense of whether or not they need to open a revocable trust or an irrevocable trust or a CRUT or a CRAT or various number of different things. We can refer out to an estate planning attorney who knows what he's doing, and they know us and they know what we're trying to accomplish with it. So I don't think you need to have it all under one house as long as the lines of communication between them all are set up well. And I will tell you this, Ronnie, if you do want to sit down with us and you do ultimately end up wanting to have an estate planning attorney conversation, we can refer you to who we normally refer to here in the Triad area. But sit down with us first and let us see how we can help you. Our phone number is 336-391-3409. That's 336-391-3409. You can also visit us at our website, thewealthguardians.com. There is no cost or obligation to sit down with us, but you do have to reach out to us, and we'd look forward to hearing from you, Ronnie, and anybody else out there who's planning for retirement and wants to make sure you've got all of your ducks in the row and you want to sit down with a holistic financial planner who's a fiduciary. That's who we are here at the Wealth Guardians. But unfortunately, that is all the time that we have this week. So I want to thank you for joining us. We hope the rest of your weekend is everything you want it to be. This is Brice Payne. I'm in the studio here with Doug Ray. We're going to go our separate ways and watch some football this weekend. The show is the Wealth Guardians, helping you retire the job and keep the paycheck. And I do want to remind you, sound financial plans do not create themselves. This is News Talk 94.5 WPTI. This is 96.7 FM WTOB.